What's going on, guys? Ants Trades back again. Great day today. Got pretty much exactly what I was looking for. Before I get into this video, I just want to let you guys know this is probably going to be a pretty long video. I'm going to be covering my theory on AMC front to back. My channel kind of blew up pretty quick, so there's probably a lot of people that haven't seen my first videos, which it's not a big deal. I'm going to go over it now again from front to back, explaining my full theory on, my fractal theory, AMC being traded on a 3-year cycle, what you can expect going forward, what I'm expecting going forward, and that kind of thing. Things are looking great. We didn't quite get the breakout for AMC today, but we got the next best thing. I got exactly what I was looking for today. It looked great. I couldn't really complain. Everything's tracking still. We're still right on track. I'm convinced at this point that we're squeezing. I'm just gonna say it. I'm convinced. With that being said, I'm gonna start with the SPY. We'll jump into this first. Just want to go over this really quick. The SPY looked great today. Again, pretty much what I was looking for. If you remember in my video yesterday, I mentioned that I could see the SPY gapping up to 406 and maybe keep running. We actually gapped down a little bit to 403.50 roughly. We opened, came down a little bit more as a tiny wick on the bottom, and then bounced all the way up to 408, 408.30 or 15, somewhere in the middle. Approximately, it was the high of the day. Towards the end of the day, last probably half hour of trading, you come all the way back down, close the day 405.70. Overall, I think it looks great. The volume was pretty low today. That is something to keep in mind. I don't love that. I'll just be honest, but I'm still bullish. I still think things look good. Really quickly, again, just the EMAs here. This is looking really good. I don't know how else to say it now. I mean, this is your 5th day in a row closing over your 200 EMA. Bullish. And if you recall me saying yesterday, the 20 EMA is curling up and catching up to the 200. It's almost there. And I mentioned that if you don't know anything about moving averages, your 20 crossing your 200 is a strong buy signal. That is an indication to the market that bulls have taken control. Bullish. It looks really, really good. I don't know how else to say it. The bulls are in control here. There's no other way to put it. We broke out of the wedge. Another green day today. This thing is on a rampage right now. There's no other way to put it. I mean, as if I needed another reason to be bullish. Look at this. That is a diamond bottom. Bullish. A bullish pattern. Diamond bottom. Take that off. Just looking at this thing, looks like an inverse head and shoulders. Bullish. Going up. Everything looks good. I really have no complaints here. And, the people that are like, oh, but the economy, but inflation, CPI, this and that and that. I don't care what the news is telling you. This chart is screaming bullish. There's no other way to put it. Higher lows, higher lows. Everything is looking good. The EMAs look great. Volume wasn't awesome today. I really don't mind that much. What am I expecting on Monday? Really quick. A big day again. I'm just gonna be honest. I could see this thing gapping to 410. Just straight up. I could see this thing gapping. If not gapping to 410, we touch it. Of course, you can get a doji here. It doesn't have to be a crazy day. I'm expecting a crazy day because I am expecting AMC to break out on Monday. I know I said I was expecting it today. We didn't get it today. We got the next best thing. The AMC closed right under its wedge. We're going to get into that later. I'm expecting AMC to break out of its wedge on Monday. I'm expecting the SPY to rip and the market to continue upwards. Tesla looked great today. It just looks good. Overall, bullish. No complaints. No complaints with the market right now. Everything is looking good for my thesis. Everything is looking good for the SPY. Everything is looking good for AMC. It looks like we are about to see a bull run. That's what it looks like to me. You know, the retail traders betting the bottom on the market right now. If they're betting the bottom this week, they got burnt. If they're betting the bottom next week, they're gonna get burnt. Period. Like, we're on a bull run. The bulls are in control. I do not know how else to say it. Anyways, so let's jump into AMC. And that's enough of the SPY. This I mentioned earlier, this is going to be a long video, and I'm going to go over my entire thesis front to back. There's probably a lot of new people here. I just want to cover all my bases here and share my thesis as a whole on AMC, just from the beginning. Just literally, when I say the beginning, I'm talking about IPO to where we are today. And there, as far as I have seen, and trust me, I have been studying this chart for 2+ years now, questioning myself every step of the way. Does it all make sense? Yes, is the answer. I have not found one single thing that leads me to believe that I am wrong. Now, I'm not saying that I can't be wrong, but I am saying there's nothing here to suggest that I'm wrong. And you know, I have people in my comments that are just like, the things that they say, I'm like, you think that I just came up with this yesterday? I've been studying this chart for years, like almost 3 years now. I mean, and then you want to watch 2 of my videos and then tell me that, you know, oh, we're not squeezing because of this and this and this. You know, show me your bear thesis. Show me why we're not squeezing. Don't just say, oh, because of this, the news, whatever, the market's going to tank. Show me something that I can see that you could. There's a hole in my thesis here. Now, I'm going to just start from the beginning. That I believe that AMC trades on 3-year cycles. So we'll start with that, and we'll start from IPO. Roughly January 2014 to January 17, I marked them. This is a 100% move here. This is a 3-year bull cycle on AMC. You IPO around 11. January of 2014, January of 2017, you're at $22. That's an 100% move, bullish move, right? All right, so from there, January 17 to January 20, bearish. This is a bear cycle here. It's a bear flag repeating over and over and over and over. 3 years, January 2017 to January 2020, when you get a cycle reset. Now, you get cycle resets, and then the trend changes. That's just how I've seen this work. So you have 3 years of bullish from IPO, you have 3 years of bearish, and then from January of 2020, roughly when COVID, the CDC announced the outbreak of COVID, and then we all know what happens there. You know, hedge funds start shorting the stock, and then retail catches on, starts buying it and never selling it, and then you get this disaster over here. So then you have January 2020 to January 2023, present day, where we are now. Bullish. Starts here at like $4 or $3.92. We're pretty much at the end of our cycle here. $5.50, I think we closed today. Bullish. I don't know what exactly. It's probably like 30 or 40%. That's bullish. We're up. And you know, before people start screaming, saying since June we've been going down, this is a descending wedge, which is bullish. It's a bullish reversal pattern, and we're about to break out of it, in my opinion, to go to new highs. And I'm going to get into all of that. I'm going to talk about everything in this video, just so I have one video where I'm covering everything, and then from here on out, I'm just going to do update videos on what I'm seeing with the market, what I'm expecting, and that kind of thing. Now, from there, so the cycle starts here, right? And you get a cycle reset from the bear cycle, and then you flatten out, and then you start forming this pattern here, right? And I've been talking about this in all of my videos. This pattern is extremely important. Very, very important. So from here, you get the January squeeze. By the way, when you break out of this, it's 2 candles, and then the algo snaps, and you just open at all-time highs. Very fast squeeze. That's what I'm expecting here. I'm expecting a very fast squeeze. Anyways, so you squeeze in January, and you trade in this symmetrical triangle, breakout, retest, and then you have your June run. And then you trade in another symmetrical triangle here. And you have, and I was looking at this at first, and it's the same exact move. It varies a little bit, but it's pretty much the same thing where you come up to the peak, trade in this range up here, come up to this peak, trade in this range, right, and then you form it's not really a cup, but you come to the bottom of your trend line, and then work your way back to the top, which is exactly what you have here. And then you have some ups and downs here, forming more or less a U pattern, which you have here. And then you come down one more time, and then you break out, which is exactly what we have here. I will admit it, I thought that there was a possibility we could break out here. We didn't end up doing that. Instead, we break down, and then we form this pattern, which is the exact same thing that you have right here. So, and we're at the end of it. We're at the end. Basically, what you can conclude from that is that we're going to get a cycle reset. I'm expecting another squeeze. So this wedge is from peak June, peak January, our two squeezes, the two peaks of the squeezes that we have, to a point. And this is what you get. And you have this pattern back here playing out, and we're at the end of the wedge, and we're at the end of this fractal here. Now, I've seen a lot of people saying, when we break out of this, oh, it's going to go slow, $16, $20, it's going to take a while. No. We break out of this, we are squeezing very fast. Volatility is going to kick up, the algorithm is going to kick into buying mode, and you're going to see gap ups big time. This thing is going to fly once it breaks out of this wedge. On the other hand, if you break to the downside, somehow, it just hypothetically, I don't see a world where this happens, but hypothetically, if you come to the bottom of the wedge and break to the bottom of it, you're talking about bankruptcy type levels. You're going to get a big move either way. I mean, if you break the bottom of this, you're coming down to $1 and less. You're talking pennies. I do not see a world where that happens. In saying that, we are going to squeeze again. So, that's my take on that. I want to speak on this again. And this is probably the reason that the community is so toxic. I'm not saying everyone is, but a lot of the retail, shareholders of AMC, the people that have been in this play for a while, maybe they bought the top, maybe they bought somewhere up here in the flag, and then they've just been hanging on during all this. You have to understand something here. This is not organic. This is not organic price action. This is not normal price action. This is a high frequency computer ping-ponging back and forth. Your buy orders are not affecting this stock. Let that sink through your head. Your buy orders do not affect the price of this stock. Elon Musk could drop $1 billion on AMC tomorrow, and this thing would trade sideways. Okay, so knowing that, right? So what this is doing, this is retail exhaustion at its finest. This is what this is. This is how you divide a community. This is how you have people bitter. This is how, you get people to just be like, all right, let me just get like $20, $25. Let me get out. I don't want to deal with this shit anymore. That's what this is. This computer is trading on your emotions and your psychology. You come down and it's just up and down. We're going to break out. No, we're not. Up and down and up and down and up and down. We're going to break out. No, we're not. Up and down, lower lows, lower lows, lower lows. It's just like, it's the exhaustion of retail. They want you out of the play. This computer, it wants us out of the play. That's what this is. It's trying to get us out. Now, I mentioned this in one of my other videos. Is it working? Let's look at OBV. Is it working? Through all of this selling, OBV is flat. You have your January rip, flat. June rip, flat. Through all of this selling, all this downward price action, the OBV has been flat. Retail is not selling, and they keep buying, and they keep holding. So what does this computer do? It takes orders, and it puts them in dark pool, because when you have that many buy orders coming in, and nobody's selling, theoretically, the price should keep going up, right? That's how supply and demand works. Now, there's speculation that there's billions of shares, right? It's probably safe to say there is. We own how many times the float? I couldn't tell you. It's probably a lot. I mean, who knows at this point how many synthetic shares there are. Um, it doesn't really matter because honestly, I think this thing is gonna trade on a loop. And as crazy as I sound, I'm gonna go through the rest of my theory here. And I found little coincidences along the way. Like I said, I didn't just start doing this when I made my YouTube channel 2 weeks ago. I have been studying this chart for a very, very long time, and I found things that, you know, have made me believe that this thing is traded on a computer, and the cycles are very, very similar. Now, um, I've gone through the bars pattern already. I'm going to do it again because I'm going to cover everything in this video. But, this is something I just wanted to mention really quick too. Um, from this bear cycle that you have your descending trend line, which crosses over your blue fractal here towards the end, right before you squeeze. Just the same way you have it here. You have descending trend line crossing over the blue fractal here. Now, this is something I thought was pretty interesting. In the beginning, the transition of the red to the blue fractal, you get touch points on your descending resistance, right? Right in the beginning you do. In the middle you do, where you get the U and the higher U. You get a touch point there. And then right before you squeeze, you get a touch point, and then you retrace, and then you squeeze, right? What do we have over here? As the red transitions into the blue, touch point. In the middle of the blue, you get the U, the higher U, touch point. Now, same thing, you come down, you find your bottom, which we did, 10 days trading down here. You come back up to the top of the wedge, touch it again, retrace. What's next? Squeeze. This thing is going to squeeze very soon. I have no reason to believe it's not going to. And I've shown you guys time and time again, like this bars pattern, it is tracking perfectly. Perfectly. I mentioned in the video yesterday, this was flat. The bottom was pretty much the bottom here. This was flat trading, and this is a descending wedge. So this pattern is descending here. Just imagine taking this here, pick it up, and that's what you have here. It's just the same thing. It's just descending, so you have lower lows every time. It's still the same thing. And I could run through it again. I'm kind of getting tired of doing this at this point, but I just really need to stress to you guys, I need you guys to understand this. Like, this bars pattern, this is pulled from here. This bars pattern has been almost 1-to-1. Almost 1-to-1 with candles. I'll do it again. You come down, up, down, up. Come down to the bottom, W, some extra, W, some extra, rip back up to the top, rip back up to the top, right? And that's the green fractal. Red, come down, shelf, down, shelf. You get your lower wick there, you get the higher wick here, forms a cup here, comes down, and then back up to the top. It doesn't have to be the exact same. It's never going to be the same. I'm never going to pull a bars pattern from here and then put it over here, and it's going to match perfectly. But the pattern that the algorithm is trading this is the same, more or less. It's the same thing. So you come to the blue, come down to a point, bounce up, come down to a point, bounce up, keep coming down. You get this wick up here, which we have here. Continue down. You get a U, a higher U, get a U, a higher U, distribute all the way down to the bottom. Here was a V recovery. Here we went flat for 10 trading days. Gap up. This is where I made my YouTube channel. Once I saw this gap up here, I was like, all right, shit's happening. Like, we're about to squeeze. So I made my YouTube channel, and I started sharing my theory. Now, there's no reason for me to believe that we're not going to squeeze. It's following 1-to-1. Like, if you guys don't see that, I don't know what to say at this point. You come up and retrace. You come up and retrace. What's next? This. Squeeze. It doesn't end there. It's going to keep going. I'm going to get into my price targets and everything. But yeah, this thing is about to go. And I don't know how else to illustrate this to you guys. Like, if you don't get it by now, I really don't know what else I could possibly say. Let me get all this stuff off. this thing is about to squeeze. It really is. I mean, you're seeing what I'm showing you, right? And then this now, everything I just showed you is facts. That cannot be questioned. 3-year bullish trend, 3-year bearish trend, 3-year bullish trend. The touch points in the exact same spot. Like what are the odds, right? Unless it was a program on a computer that's programmed to run the same kind of algorithm. It's a loop. It's running the same thing. It's slightly different, but it's the same thing. What are the odds that you touch your descending trend line in the same exact spots? And then right on the last touch, you retrace and squeeze. And that's what we have, touch, retrace. What are the odds of that? Astronomical. Unless it's a program on a computer that is running this thing on a loop. It makes perfect sense. Now, with that being said, and this is speculation, right? So my theory here is there's billions of synthetic shares, right? And when you have that many shares being bought and there's no supply because they're all bought, they can't really buy them, and those orders are going into dark pool. Those orders are not affecting the stock price. They go into dark pool and they sit there. Billions of fake shares that have to be bought. Keep in mind, the market makers have to buy these shares. You bought them, but they have to buy them because they never did. So this here should have been your MOAS in January. The buy button removal, this whole situation, this thing would not have stopped until it would have stopped somewhere. Who knows? 4 figures, 5 figures, who knows? It would have gone for a while. When you have that many people buying and nobody selling, that's what you get. So they take the buy button away, and you have the algorithm now starts running this on a cycle. What I believe is happening is they're letting us leg up a little bit at a time because they couldn't just let this thing run forever. So they'll let us leg up a little bit at a time. They'll hedge themselves a little bit, make money on retail, selling calls this whole time. And you know how that goes. So what do I think is going to happen in the future, right? So we're approaching the end because we're now in January 2023. What happens next? January 2023 to January 2026. Now, again, do not come at me crazy right now. I'm showing you my theory, and I do not think I'm wrong. Like, I just showed you everything. This is what I think is next. And this is going to look a little crazy. But this is what I think is going to happen, right? So you have your January rip, down, June rip, down, 3-year cycle reset. I think we're about to squeeze. And this is pretty much scaled to where I think it's going to go for the next 3 years. So squeeze around like 140 area, come back down. Theoretically, if this algorithm is running the shit on a loop, theoretically what should happen is this. You're going to get the same type of move just happening over and over again. It's an infinite money glitch. If this algorithm does it, so listen, if this squeezes here, if I crack the code here and this actually squeezes here, theoretically it's an infinite money glitch because you know what happens next. We squeeze here in January. Maybe it's first week or second week February. It doesn't have to be like 3 years on the dot. But I'm at this point, that the algorithm slowed down a lot. So I'm thinking, first or second week February, we're going to hit our high sometime in that range. So theoretically, what should happen is you get up here and then you trade in some kind of, wedge or triangle, and then you break out again, and it'll probably be sometime in June or near that. It's too early to tell. I still like you can get approximation after it, like just say we squeeze right and then you get your bottom and your top. You can get an approximation with the triangle when you're going to break out again. But I do think by the end of the year we're going to see a second rip up to about $500, $600 level. As crazy as I sound, and then you're going to get what we've been, this whole thing, what we've been going through for the past 2 years. This down all the way back down, stair stepping. It's They couldn't just let it rip. So what do they do instead? Is they just let us stare. It's a stairway to heaven, pretty much. You just keep going up. You know, January up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, like that. Stair stepping. That's pretty much my theory as a whole. And if somebody can find a hole in it, go for it, please, please. But I have absolutely no reason to think I'm wrong here. No reason to think I'm wrong at all. So, with that being said, what can we expect for the squeeze? I'm gonna go over this stuff again, and I want to show you just so everyone's prepared for what's gonna happen. So really quickly, I'm gonna show you this. This is your January squeeze, and I took it from the bottom to the top to the bottom of this move, and you come somewhere in between your 2618 and 3618. It's about halfway in the middle. This is just a fib extension, Fibonacci extension. The January squeeze came somewhere right in the middle of your 2618 and your 3618, right? So that is January. Here's June, which is from your bottom here to your top of your January move to the bottom of it. And then in June, you come up to the 3618 pretty much on the dot. You wicked over a little bit. So what can we infer from that? What can we deduce from that? Right? So this is why this is going to be my price target going forward. From the bottom here to the top of the June, I'm almost positive this is our bottom. At this point, I'm convinced the bottom is in, and we're not going back down to the bottom of this trend line. I'm just going to say that now. Of course, I could be wrong, and we can come back down and then break out. I just think the bottom's in. I don't think we're coming back down here. So bottom, top, bottom. What can we deduce from the information we now know? This squeeze is going to go somewhere. You could be conservative here, and you could just say the 2618, which is 106.50, give or take. The 3618 is 145.50, give or take. Conservatively, you can say 110. You could probably conservatively say 125. Somewhere in that range is what I'm expecting for this next leg up. And I mentioned this too. I just think that there is a lot of tension in this wedge. Like these, I think this thing is blasting up to the 3618. My price target is going to be probably around the $140 for the next leg up. There's just a lot of tension in this wedge, and you know, this wedge is very, very well respected. You know, you have your peaks here, you have touch points here, wick below, came right back in. Here, 10 days trading here, you have multiple touch points here, one there, one here when you get rejected, and now we're in our retrace, and we establish support on 527. I don't think we're coming back down to the bottom of this thing, so what can we infer from that is we are breaking out and squeezing. That's what I think comes next. I think we're going to squeeze very soon. I am expecting to break the wedge on Monday. Now, I mentioned yesterday that it doesn't have to be on Monday because we still have room between our wedge and our support on 527. So you can, this is worst case scenario again, if we are hypothetically squeezing, we could possibly bounce here in this range until we get pushed out of the wedge. I just think we're breaking out of this thing. We're breaking out of this thing on Monday. I mean, after seeing today, you know, we got the double bottom I was looking for. I mentioned that yesterday too. I'm going to go into the 1 hour, but just I have no reason to believe that we're not squeezing on Monday. We're not squeezing, breaking out of the wedge. By breaking out of the wedge, pretty much saying you're squeezing, because if we break this thing, we're squeezing. So yeah, we're squeezing very soon, guys, in my opinion. I forgot to mention this. I should probably start saying this in my videos. I am not a financial advisor, and this is not financial advice. I'm just sharing my TA with everyone. I challenge you to find a hole in my theory here. I do. Keep in mind, the algorithm cannot change its cycle, but it can slow it down. It can't change it. it's going to play out, but it can slow it down. That's what we're seeing here. So this thing is going to go. It's just a matter of time. And, you know, I could try, like I said, I could try to be my best, give my best approximation with dates, but never going to be perfect. It's never going to be perfect. And that's all I have to say about that. One more thing really quick. This is something I noticed too. I want to show you. This is just good information to know. Now, this is AMC's price action, and then this is your historical RSI. On your squeeze in January and on your squeeze in June, the RSI topped out at about 96. That's the highest it's ever seen. It was almost the same. It was almost the same where it topped out on both of the squeezes, and it never saw that range other than these two squeezes. What can you infer from that is if we squeeze here, you could probably expect a top somewhere around 96 RSI. History usually repeats, especially with an algorithm that's programmed to run this a certain way. So you could probably expect, if you get into that, 110, 130, 140 range, and the RSI is just burning hot on fire up here in this 96 range, you could probably expect the runs over. Now what happens after that? I'm expecting something similar to what happened in January, where once we break out of this wedge, and I mentioned this in other videos of mine, when you come up and get rejected, you retrace for one day here. In our current cycle, we got rejected, and we are on day 7 of retrace. That's just an algorithm slowed down. Like I said, it can't change it, but it can slow it down, and that's what we're seeing right in front of us. Anyways, you get rejected here, 1 day of retracement, you break out of the wedge, and then your January squeeze was 3 days. Gap, gap, all-time high. So you break out, you get 2 gap days, and then the algo just snaps, and you open at the top. So anyone that FOMO'd in at open, they bought the top, which is exactly what I'm expecting for our next leg. I think it's going to play somewhat similar to that. Obviously, this is a lot harder to predict how this thing will squeeze. The price targets you can predict. As far as how it's going to squeeze, I can give you my best approximation with that, but I'm not going to be perfect with it. I mean, we're probably going to see gaps up to like critical levels of support and resistance. Maybe up here into this range, into like the $33 area. You get a gap up there, and we see that, and then you open at like 130, 140 the next day. If you open up there, it's probably safe to say you're opening at the top. Anybody that's FOMOing in is going to be buying the top, and they'll probably panic sell on the way down. And what happened in January actually was, so you open at the top, and then you come all the way back down to this huge wick, all the way down, and then you come all the way back up, and you close near the top again. That's kind of what I'm expecting. I think we're going to see gap days. We're going to break out the wedge on probably Monday. We're going to see some gap days, and then we're going to open at the top one. When we hit our all-time high, we're going to open at it, come back down, and then close somewhere near it, and then probably play some kind of pattern like this for the next couple months, and then squeeze again. That's what I'm expecting. And then we squeeze again. It's going to play something like this again, and it's a loop. It's a feedback loop, and it's never going to stop until we get to a point where maybe they're just so over leveraged they just go under, and then we see the MOAS, and that's no one can predict that. Not even like I can't do anything with fractals when it comes to a squeeze like that. That's like a black swan event. Yeah, a MOAS type scenario, it's every man for themselves. Honestly, nobody's going to know how that kind of thing could play out. I'm not saying it has to happen, a MOAS type event. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm not saying it's not. I am saying that this algorithm is running this on a loop, and I'm pretty sure I cracked the code here. I think I can make a pretty good educated guess on what's about to happen next. I mean, I haven't been wrong. If you go from my first video that I made and just watch them in order, I really haven't been wrong. I've just been off a little bit with time scale, but I keep saying this to you guys. I cannot control the algorithm. If it decides to cut volume and just slow down, I can't control it. The the cycle is still playing out. You know, the fractals are still the same. It's the same move. It's just slowing down. Like this retracement was 1 day. This retracement 7 days. You know, I can't predict that. I could just give my best guess. With that being said, I think we're squeezing next Monday. Let's hop into, let's just look really quick on the daily what this looks like. Today's price action on AMC. I mentioned yesterday that we could expect some kind of a W move, right? So I said this comes down, up, down. What do you expect next? Up. And that's exactly what we got. Let me actually hop into the 1 hours for this. All right. Now, I did mention yesterday that I would not be surprised to see double bottom. And that's exactly what we got. You know, the first half of the day was very boring. You know, very boring, very low volume. And then we picked up and just started taking off. I compared these two yesterday, and it's still tracking perfectly. This was 1 day. This is 7 days, but it's still the same thing. I mentioned that this wick didn't come as low as the wick off the rejection. I mentioned that I wouldn't be surprised to see this one come lower than this because this is descending and this is flat. So it's tracking perfectly. I don't know how else to put it. And like some of you guys are still giving me shit in the comments. I'm just like, look, like what else do I have to show you? This thing is gonna rip. It's a W. That's what this is. Monday we're ripping, 100%. Not 100%. Not financial advice, but I really do. I think we're breaking out the wedge Monday. It looks really good. Let me say this again because I don't want people to start yelling at me and saying that I'm a liar if we don't break out on Monday. It does not have to be on Monday as long as we hold our support. If we hold support at 527 and trade range bound, you know, hitting the top end of the wedge and bouncing to the bottom, that's fine. As long as we hold our support, we're going to get pushed out. Eventually, it's 3 days. Honestly, this thing is going to make a move. Let me just be very clear. In the next 3 days, AMC is going to make a move up or down. Like I said, sub 5, bearish. You're coming back down here. You hold your support. You're squeezing out. This thing is about to make a move. Maximum 4 days. Maybe you get a tiny candle in there. Maximum. I don't see that happening. I really do think we're going to break out Monday. I mean, you got the W here. It started here. I mentioned this move is very symmetrical. It is. The W, the other leg of the W started today. The first half of the day was low volume. We kind of lost half the day there. We could have broke the wedge potentially today. But the algo was just in slow motion this morning. We double bottomed and spent a lot of the day there, and then we ended here. I'm fully expecting. I have no reason to believe that we do not break this wedge on Monday. And yeah, so I said that I would be live streaming next week. I'm not going to be doing that. Once we break the wedge, then I will take off of work. I'm not going to take off of work for us to get rejected off of this and then come back to the bottom. Again, I don't think that's happening. I'm just going to wait until we break above the wedge because I just want to be sure. Once we break above this wedge, game on. We're squeezing 100%. I just want to be very clear on that. Now, what can you expect? I'll start by saying that if we do break and close above the wedge, it's probably going to be somewhere in like $6.50, $7 range, somewhere in there. Pre-January. I'm not saying it has to play out like this, by the way. I'm just showing you because a lot of this stuff does correlate with each other. So you close above, you finally break, and then you gap. You have 2 gap candles right over your 200 EMA. And then day 3, all-time highs. I'm not saying it has to play like that. I'm just showing you how it played out over there. So potentially what you get is a breakout on Monday, the $6.50, $7 range, somewhere around the 100 EMA. Tuesday, you gap up to the 200 EMA, around $8. Wednesday, it looked like it was pretty close to the 200 still, and then the algo just snapped, and you open at all-time highs. I'm not saying it has to play like that. It could just gap up to resistance levels up here. So I'm not saying it's going to play like that. When we do break, I'll go more into that, what we're going to expect. I'm gonna every step of the way, I'm going to be informing you guys on what I'm seeing and what I'm thinking. So, yeah. With that being said, I pretty much covered everything. Yeah. Things are looking really good. Very, very bullish. The market looks bullish. AMC looks bullish. I have nothing to be concerned with. I have still seen nothing to be concerned with. I think that we're looking very, very good for this squeeze. We still, we bounced off, we double bottomed 510, closed 551. Beautiful. That's great. By the way, and I think we're squeezing Monday anyway, or breaking out Monday, but every day that we don't, this wedge is coming down 10 cents. So Monday, it's at 575. Tuesday, it's at 565. Wednesday, 555. 545, 535 Friday. You get the picture. If we somehow make it to Friday without breaking out and we're holding support, that means that we're in a 10-cent range between support and wedge, which that would push this thing out. I don't think we're making it to Friday. We're getting a move. We're getting a move next week. It's going to be a big move. It's either up or down. I highly doubt we're going down. Again, why do I highly doubt that we're going down? Like I said a million times, we're following this almost one-to-one. That is why I doubt that we go down. This is where we are, right here. When you come up here, I'll zoom in. You come up here and then you retrace and you just start taking off. That's where we are in the fractal. And this wedge is running out of space. Like I said, it comes to an end March 10th. The very latest, you're expecting a breakout early March. I think we're going to see the start of it next week, personally. Again, I could be wrong. We could come back to the bottom, trade down here, break out. Highly doubt it. I think we're breaking out next week. And that is my take on that. Guys, we've been following this thing almost perfectly. I'm telling you, I've been watching this for 2 years now. We're following this thing perfectly. It looks great. SPY looks bullish. AMC looks bullish. I have no complaints whatsoever. Nothing looks bad to me. Nothing is like, oh, nothing's making me say, oh, maybe we won't. I'm not trying to like spread hopium or anything, but everything just looks perfect. Everything looks perfect. I have no reason to believe that we're not squeezing out of this wedge next week. No reason to believe it. SPY broke out of its descending broadening wedge and looks very strong. We're holding 527 support, and the wedge is getting closer and closer to the support. You're getting squeezed down here. This is symmetrical, so I'm thinking we're squeezing. I think Monday we're breaking out, and I think we're gonna see some crazy price action next week. That's what I'm thinking. And another thing too, if you just pull this up, Aper. Don't really mind the trend line being all the way extended left, but Ape broke its neckline of its inverse head and shoulders, which is bullish. Broke above slightly. Bullish. So it looks like Ape's going up, it looks like SPY's going up, and it looks like AMC's going up. So I have no reason to believe, no reason to believe at all that we are not squeezing next week. Now, really quick, I'll just say this again. I mentioned this before because people keep asking, where is Ape going to go if AMC squeezes? If AMC squeezes, 500%, does Ape squeeze 500%? I have absolutely no idea. There's not enough information. There's not enough chart here for me to tell you. This isn't inverse head and shoulders. This thing looks ready for some upside. AMC looks ready for upside. SPY is ripping. This thing's going to rip too. To what extent? I have no idea. There's not enough chart here. So, but if AMC runs, Ape will run. And that's that. And that is pretty much it. I just wanted to leave you guys with this video to hype you guys up. I'm not trying to spread hopium. It just looks really good. Leave you guys with this going into the weekend. Chart looks great. Chart looks absolutely perfect, to be honest with you. I have no complaints here. So with that being said, everybody have a great weekend, and I will catch you guys next week.